what I actually carry myself and why this is what I actually carry. I know there's a million different videos about this. This is really just what I found works for me, and I just feel like it might actually work for a lot of other people. So right off the bat, I gotta mention I got two SIG 365s here. This is a 365X, 365X macro. And I just gotta bring off the bat real quick, I don't have any 320s. I don't recommend any 320s. I know SIG has a lot of controversy. I know the 320s is a whole, like, oh, it might shoot you kind of thing. And people are afraid to carry 365. And I also understand that when the SIG 365s first came out, there was a lot of concerns with the 365s and their quality control, how well they actually work. These are new models, both purchased in the year of 2025. I've had no issues with them. And I don't carry guns. I don't like to talk about guns or really recommend guns unless you could go online and find the endless amount of videos of people talking about how well they work for them. So I get there's people who've had issues with these, but there's way more people you could find online talking about these, reviewing these, shooting these, who have never had a single issue with them. There's a guy online who has a original 365. I think he's like a Gen 1. He shot over 50,000 rounds with very minimal issues with it. And also, too, I guess that would come to the Ruger RXM. Sure, I got a bootleg Glock, but the Ruger RXM over here has been thoroughly tested. You could find the video online where they shot 8,000 rounds in a row through one of these without a single issue. There's a lot of testing that's been done in these guns. I don't like to carry a gun that you can't go online, research, and just find a wealth of information about. Or if it's too new. Like here I got an HKCC9. Granted, these also came out around the same time, but I did not buy these immediately. I carried the SIG 365s for a while still, and both of these guns are new to me. They're recent. I've actually never even shot any of one of these two. This one or this one. I shot both the SIGs. These two, I haven't even had time to shoot them yet. I kind of said, screw it. I mean, I did as much breaking in as I could do at home. I left the slide locked back inside the safe for 2 days. What else did I do? I overlubed them. I racked the slide a couple hundred times. Ran through some practice bullets, dummy bullets through them just to make sure everything seems good. So I know I should shoot them, but just being honest with you guys, I kind of just said screw it. I just started carrying them. I will shoot them soon. So yeah, now that all that's out of the way, yeah, I do like to use guns and carry guns. I mean, I'm willing to buy a gun and use a gun for fun just because I like it. I got no issue against that. Show you actually two of my guns that are for fun. We have these SIG Mosquitoes discontinued 22 long rifle. These things are like full metal hammered fired guns. They need a lot of cleaning. They're not the most reliable gun you could possibly get, at least if you don't properly maintain one of these. But I don't mind getting guns for fun. I mean, you can see with the pink here, just as an example. So yeah, this is what I actually carry. And yeah, there's a lot of different reasons why this is what I choose. So obviously you can see a trend here. I guess maybe in a sense it makes sense if I rearrange this a little bit to put it in order of size and weight. So obviously that's the lightest, then progressively goes up in size and weight. So I mean, you got the obvious, like a gun like this is gonna be easier to hide. And this right here, all these guns are actually loaded. This one does have a manual safety, so I do feel a little bit more comfortable moving it around, finger off the trigger. I went with the 365X just because I knew I was going to want the pink extension on it pretty much at all times. Maybe there's situations where I would want that to not be there, and the standard 365 might be better because then you could just shove a magazine extension on it and just change the grip size just by changing the magazine. It's in a sense, it could be simpler and easier for certain people to use if they need maximum concealment. But I knew for me, 99% of the time, I was going to want that grip on there because just having it built into the gun just makes it easier to use versus like the HK with the magazine extensions. Now, I don't want to even take this out completely. I gotta be careful. These are my legit carry guns. These are all loaded. Yeah, I know someone on YouTube's gonna be cringy about that. So with the pinky extensions, you see it's part of the grip. So when I go to release the magazine, you also have to break your grip a little bit more to get that magazine out of the gun and put a new one into the gun. So it's just easier to use with the grip built in, which is why I went with that. It's also a manual safety, which I know people will question. Should you have a manual safety gun? Should you not have a manual safety gun? For me, I like options. So that's actually the only one with the manual safety. While I have other guns I could carry with a manual safety, that's no manual safety. This is no manual safety. This is no manual safety. In the X Macro, you could put a manual safety on one of these. You get one with one, but I decided to go on without it. Whole grips. Not sponsored, not an advertisement. I just like them. I use them myself. These are my actual carry guns. So yeah, getting back on track. That's why I went with the SIG 365X. I just decided I wanted a manual safety on that one. And part of the reason I wanted to make this video, so yeah, I mean, obviously, so you see I have guns here. I'm trying to keep the size. I'm trying to keep the weight down. I have spare magazine. It's for each of them, 2 magazine holsters. But it's, for me, it's not just about keeping the size down while I stick with these guns. This one, I don't really carry it that much. It's almost more or less a backup gun for me. If I wanted something a little bit bigger, a little bit more capable, I load these up with critical duty plus P ammo. The reason I use plus P on that, but all the other ones, I only use critical defense, which is not plus P, because according to Hornady, these are rated to work better with shorter barrel guns, and these are rated to have at least a 4-inch barrel, so I only use that there. But yeah, I try to keep the weight down, because to me, it's not just about making the gun as concealable as possible. People can say what they want about it, feel what they want about it. I need to keep the weight down. The weight just bothers me. I do not appendix carry. I do not like appendix carrying. I do not understand how people think it's more comfortable from a physical standpoint, and from a mental standpoint, if you could imagine what I mean. I am not comfortable with appendix carry, and I just don't do it. I'm not to say I will never do it if the situation calls for it, but 99% of the time, 99.9% of the time, I'm just not doing it. So yeah, so you have all this extra weight just on one side, and for me, say what you want to say, it hurts. My knee hurts, my lower back hurt, my hips hurts. This is the only gun I really don't mind carrying on a long day, and it's because of the weight. Even the HKCC9, the weight will start to get to me if I'm going for like a walk. Like, I'm not saying I'm just walking inside of my car, get out of my car for 10 minutes, walk. Like, if I'm walking for over an hour, I'm going to want the 365X or something smaller and lighter. Even this will start to bother me. And I don't know, I guess other people will have their opinions. Some guy will be like, oh yeah, I daily carry a Glock 17 fully loaded. These are New York compliant mags. It's wonderful, isn't it? Gotta love these things. Sure. Yeah, I know some guy be like, oh, I carry a fully loaded, full-size gun or a full-size heavy 1911. I don't do it. I don't like it. I don't get it. It hurts me. It bothers me. To me, it's not about, oh, just be a man. Like, at some point, I'm causing long-term damage to, well, since I carried on my right, to my right knee. And perhaps to my lower back. Like, you say what you want, think what you want. But I think about in the long term, like, what's that's going to do to you if you've been carrying a gun for the last 40 years. Your right knee is going to have more problems than your left knee. You got to live with that. So I keep my size and weight down. Of course, these are all double stack 9mm. I have some gripes with the HKCC9. And it's almost kind of hard for me to say, because I am kind of an HK fanboy. My favorite handguns, without questions, are HKs. As far as I know, you're not buying a brand new shotgun from HK, so that's out of the question. I don't currently have any of their rifles, though I would like to. But I have a good amount of their handguns. A lot of their handguns are not that crazy price. If you go to the right place, maybe you shop around a lot, it's not that much of a price difference to get an HKCC9 over a SIG 365, over some Glock 43, 48X, whatever you want to call it, 43X, 48, or a Hellcat. It's not that much of a price difference. And this is overall just my favorite carry gun. But me personally, I have issues with the weight, but I also have other issues with the gun, if I'm being honest. So let me clear it, because I do want to show you this gun. Okay, just cleared the gun. So I have two real gripes with it on the ergonomics. Overall, call it opinionated, call it not opinionated, whatever you want to call it, this is my favorite carry gun right here. Hands down, the number one. I don't carry it as much as I like to, just because I got to keep the weight down, because it does bother me. And like, I do have knee problems too, if anyone's wondering, so I really do need to keep the weight down. But the other gripes are out. Overall, I love the ergonomics. I love the feel with it, especially when you have the pinky extension magazine in the gun. But the number one complaint I have is this slide release. It's just, I mean, it's nice that it's ambidextrous. You got it on both sides. That's wonderful. Your magazine release is ambidextrous for anyone who wants a gun straight from the factory that's ambidextrous. Those are some nice features to have. But it's too thin. It's hard. It's hard to hit. That's one of the things I kind of wish HK wasn't so concerned about making the gun just as physically thin as possible. It's one of the things I really like about the SIG. You could clearly see a clear difference on the SIG. Non-ambidextrous. Well, you see that? If you needed it to be ambidextrous, you're gonna have to do some work there if you need it on your other hand. But you could see clear ledge. This is much easier to hit, much easier to use when you need to use it. I would have preferred it if HK had just pushed that out a little bit more instead of just making it as thin as possible. You only would add a little bit size here. It wouldn't have affected the overall profile of the gun as much. I guess it wouldn't look as nice on paper, because now on paper you have to say it's a wider gun, even though the gun is basically exactly the same. It's just a side release, but on paper it doesn't look nice. And maybe their goal was just to make it as thin as possible. But that's the one thing that's one of the things I would want to change. The other thing I had an issue with is the trigger, which I know it's really conflicting. A lot of people who know this gun and love this gun think the trigger is amazing, but I have a specific problem with it that would make sense if I explain it. So I like the trigger. I always want to double clear it. Shoot it over there. I like the trigger, right? Overall, in my right hand, it feels really good. It's a really nice trigger. It's probably better than any of the other triggers here. It's going to help you shoot the gun more accurately. That's what's nice about a good trigger. But the gripe I have with it is not with my right hand. So I'm a right-handed person, and I mainly shoot with my right hand. But I did notice a weird issue that I haven't really had much problem with other my guns, especially like my SIG. When I grab it with my left hand, see, I'm even doing it right now, I automatically go too high on the trigger, and it gets like hung up, and it doesn't want to break. Like you may have heard that click. You have to like force the break, and I have to like roll my trigger down. So this isn't a thing that happens at the range. If you're at the range, you're taking your time, you're going to put your trigger finger in the right place. But when I tried it, if I had to draw it quickly with my left hand for whatever reason, my right hand's disabled, and somehow I'm trying to do a quick draw with my left hand, my finger does not go in the right place automatically to pull the trigger. I mean, granted, you could say that's a training issue. I just thought, the thing with me is it's never been a problem with the SIG. This is just a flat trigger, no trigger safety. I don't want to mess around too much because these are my carry guns. They're loaded. But when you put your finger on that trigger, it doesn't really matter that much. if I put it too high, it's just going to roll in place. So, yeah, it's a weird gripe to have with a trigger. It may not affect most people, but for me, I just notice it's not comfortable for me to shoot with my left hand. Like, I find myself grabbing it too high and needed to readjust. Once I'm going, I'm pretty good to go, but off the draw, it's out of place. So, yeah, that's that. The other thing I wanted to point out here is on the X macro, I do not carry the comp version. I carry the longer barrel version. And I know there's a lot of people, I'm just going to put that away. These are loaded guns. These are my actual carry guns I have set up to carry. I know maybe someone online is going to be like, oh, I should declare them for the video. Yeah, well, these are my actual carry guns. I actually carry them. I like them to be always ready to go. I mean, right or wrong, it's what I did. So, non-comp version of the SIG X macro. I know a lot of people probably hate the idea of carrying the non-comp version of the X macro, and they love the X macro because the comp gives it less recoil. So I already had a Legion. I'd show you that right here. I already had a 365 X Legion. So this was one of the main reasons I was leaning towards getting that one instead. I already have it. It's the full metal frame, obviously comped, obviously super low recoil, super nice shooter. It's 365 Legion. Is that X Macro Legion? Is X AXG Legion? That's what it's called. 365 AXG Legion. All factory. Comes like this with the metal frame. So at the time, I was looking for something a little bit more universal. So I had a 365X. I had a 365 Legion. And I really did not like carrying this gun because it's really, really heavy. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there who would love this gun and say this is the best carry gun ever. For me, it's way too heavy. I would not recommend getting this over an X macro purely just to save the weight. I mean, if you had to shoot it, obviously this is going to shoot nicer than that gun. It's obviously going to be lower recoil. But if it's a gun that you're going to carry every single day, like, I see too many people, let me pull out a ridiculous gun, try to get the biggest gun that they could possibly get to carry, and Glock 20, Gen 4, 10 mil auto, TLR1, whole grip. I see a lot of people, this is just a funny example. I mean, there's probably barely anyone carrying this gun. I mean, I know people do, but not by much. But people get these giant guns to carry, and then what happens is they tell you that they carry them. They tell you that they carry, maybe they'll even tell you they carry every day, but then they end up carrying some Bodyguard 380 because of how small and light it is, when they could have just got a 9 mil instead and had the extra power, or they don't carry at all. So be wary with buying really big guns that you think you're going to carry, because what I've seen a lot of people say they're going to carry, this gun, this is obviously a funny example. I mean, just making a mess at this point. You're probably more likely to carry a Glock 19. Here's my Glock 19 Gen 4. A little bit of mods there. A custom holster. So you're more, even something like this, people buy this to carry. But the size and weight on this, you're just not going to carry it every single day, everywhere you go. It's just not going to happen. It's just too much. Versus you get a gun like this, at least you're carrying it every single day, everywhere you go. I do not recommend 380. I feel like that's its own video. That's a whole own subject for me to get into. I don't recommend you carry a 380. Just because if I'm getting into a fight, I'm not counting on me getting a lucky shot to take someone down. I want something that's going to be effective to take something down. And there's plenty of stories of cops having trouble taking someone down with 45 ACP for me to go risk my life and people around me carrying a 380. I don't mess with 380. If you want to, that's on you. I do not recommend 380. Why do I not carry the X Macro with a comp? Because I know most people who carry the X Macro recommend the X Macro go with the comp version. So I already had the Legion, right? So that's one thing. I already had a comp. This would obviously be different, but that wasn't the only reason I don't carry it with the comp. I wanted something a little bit more universal. And I don't believe this is the universal gun that people think it is, whether it's the AXG Legion or the X Macro with the comp. A lot of people look at these guns and you're like, you almost have a full-size grip on this. Basically, full-size grip, just slim. You have 17 round capacity, and they're like, oh, wow, and a gun's so small. Same here, 17 round capacity. With the flush fit mags, there's obviously extensions. I'm just referring to the flush fit will hold 17 rounds for those of you who don't know. So people see that and they're like, oh, you have the capacity of a full-size handgun. I don't honestly buy into that logic or into that theory, because this is still, it's like a 3.1 inch barrel. The barrel, show you, is cut short. Some of you know that. And I don't buy into the logic that this is the capability of a full-size gun, because you have a barrel that's basically just long enough for the gun to pretty much function properly. As far as I understand it, they build a lot of these guns, not specifically just SIG, but all the companies with these 3-inch barrel 9mm are trying to figure out how small of a barrel they can make the gun where the bullet will still function properly and accurately. You're losing velocity here. When you don't have that longer barrel, you're losing velocity. This little bit extra length barrel is going to help you have more capability closer to that of a full-size gun, which to me, you're not really getting to full-size gun territory without at least a 4-inch barrel. And I know there's people, you know, are going to say, oh, a 4-inch barrel is still considered a compact. I get that these are considered compact guns between this and that, but this is where you really get into full-size gun territory, because that loss of velocity means a loss of power, which means you're shooting the same exact bullet, but it's going to have less power behind it, less effectiveness. So that's why I don't really recommend the comp version. Sure, you're going to shoot it faster, and sure, maybe that speed, putting more rounds on target, is going to make up the difference, but every round you put on target is going to be less effective. So that's the one thing to keep in mind. So the other things to keep in mind, obviously with the longer barrel, longer sight radius, because you lose sight radius with where that comp is, you're going to have more range, more accuracy. I get the sight radius doesn't matter if you're running the red dot. I'm not running red dot, so you're going to have better range, better accuracy, better velocity, just better takedown power, and it could be even noticeable. Like, from what I've seen, the difference between like a 4-inch barrel and a 5-inch barrel 9mm may not actually show that much of real world results difference, but the difference between a 3-inch barrel and a 4-inch barrel could actually be a noticeable difference in how effective this round is. So to me, this was just a perfect universal gun. I wanted to shave down the size, I wanted to shave down the weight, I wanted the longer barrel, the longer sight radius, so I have that extra range, that extra accuracy, that extra velocity. So it's just, this to me just feels a lot more universal. That's why I went with the non-comp version. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to cover in this video. Oh yeah, there's one more thing I want to touch on. So obviously you can see I have Glocks, bootleg Glocks. I got more Glocks in the safe. This isn't, the point of this video isn't for me to show every single gun I have. It's just to show what I actually carry, what I actually use, and why I use it. For those of you who are wondering why I don't use a Smith & Wesson or a Springfield, I'm just going to be honest, I just don't really like them that much. I like the SIG and I like the HK more. And also, I'm questioning some of their quality. I know people say those guns are amazing and the most reliable gun you can get. There's a lot of videos that you can find. I've seen too many of them. I'm online too much. People having troubles with Springfields and people having trouble with Smith & Wesson. I know people are going to argue with that. People are not going to believe it, but do your own research. The information is out there. There's a lot of talk that currently Smith & Wesson is having a lot of quality control with brand new handguns coming out in recent time. This is as of early 2026. I'm making this video. A lot of quality control there. I have concerns with Springfield Maybe the quality control isn't as bad. Though I've seen a lot of people having different magazine issues with them. That's kind of a concern. I've also heard that Springfields are known to not last that long. And if you're someone who actually wants to use your guns a lot and shoot your rounds to them a lot, sure, I know there's going to be a million people out there who say they have Springfields and Smith & Wessons and they have no problems. But I've seen way too many people still say they're having problems with these guns. And I know that's more than I've seen people saying they have problems with 365s. I'm not talking about 320s, but more problems than I've seen with the 365s. I've seen in Smith & Wessons and I've seen in Springfields. If you go online, you do your research. Do your own research, because I know a lot of you are not going to want to take my word for it. I've just seen the problems. I've seen the issues. Chooks Outdoor Adventures reviews 10 mils in Alaskas. He said their Glock 20 competitor, what word did I say? Glock 20 competitor has like a 100% failure on the magazine rate. Basically 100%. They have really, really fine dust in Alaska, and that fine dust gives you, and where he is, guaranteed magazine failures. I know someone's going to say, oh, they never had a problem, but where he is, he's seeing guaranteed failures, not just his and other guns. So it's not a viable, people carry these in the woods for bear protection, but depending on where you are, this could be one of the best. This is a Glock. I mean, obviously, this isn't the actual gun. I have a Glock, so I don't want to say that gun. But the Springfield could be one of the worst guns you could carry. So magazine issues, long-term quality issues. Smith & Wesson, same thing. Their smaller handguns are known that the pins will just start falling out. And I've seen it happen to a YouTuber where he's shooting his gun and his pins will just start falling out. Again, do your own research. Pins will fall on those guns. So you think you're just carrying around your gun all willy-nilly, ooh, and then and you go to draw it, the gun falls apart because the pins fall out. That's great. And the other things I've seen that's big on Smith & Wesson's, a lot of light primer strikes where the striker does not hit the primer hard enough to set off the round. And I've seen great videos on that. God, I wish I could reference everyone who I've seen these videos. I apologize just because I can't remember everything right now. I wasn't planning on talking about all this. If I can reference people in my description box for the video, I will, because I do feel bad not referencing people who I've gotten this information from. But great video about light primer strikes. There's a YouTuber, I will try to, if I can remember his name, I'll try to put his name in the description for the video, who did a great video about it, where competition shooters who shoot thousands of rounds have both reported the barrels getting worn out way sooner than you think. So you have to replace the barrel. And the gun is known to have light primer strikes where they have to modify the internals of the gun, not by swapping out parts. They have to literally modify the internals of the gun so they could get it to not have light primer strikes. They have quality issues. I've seen way more issues with Smith & Wessons and Springfields than I have with Glock, SIGs, and HKs, which is why I stick to these for if I'm actually going to carry. All that aside, I know a big question on a lot of people's minds, if anyone actually made it this far in the video, why is there no Glock 43X? Why is there no Glock 48? Where's the Glock 43? Or whatever other Glock you want to carry in terms of micro compact. I do not like those guns. I do not. I'm just going to say it again. I do not. I had originally planned on buying a Glock 43X. I had it in my mind. I liked the gun. Was planning on buying it. I knew someone who brought one before I did. I tried it. I hated the gun. One thing I really do not like about Glocks, I mean, honestly, so there's about 3 things I don't really like about Glocks. You got really questionable ergonomics on the gun. Say what you want to say about it. Questionable ergonomics, especially compared to an HK. Well, I'm just making way too much of a mess today. Compared to an HK, You got, this is just, to me, way better ergonomics. If you don't like the finger grooves on these VP9s, the new ones don't have them. I actually really like the finger grooves, so that's is kind of optional. You could get one without the finger grooves now. But to me, this gun is the kind of gun I could just grab, point, and shoot without even really thinking about it. Like, I could feel it. Like, if I needed a gun that I was gonna grab, point, and shoot because someone's standing right in front of me and I need to just point, shoot it, I can't even really aim it, I want an HK. The ergonomics on these guns are so good. I just feel like it's an extension of my hand. I know it sounds weird, maybe you've heard that term before, but it feels like an extension of my hand where I could just point and shoot these without even thinking about it. SIG, I'd say overall is probably a second place for a gun that I feel like could do that. Glocks, they're not that intuitive. The ergonomics are going to make it a little bit harder for you to actually properly shoot these guns. Along with the triggers, the HKs and the SIGs have better triggers. Say what you want to say. Maybe you like it. Maybe it works for you. For me, and I know a lot of other people would agree about this, Glocks are kind of shortcoming on their triggers and their ergonomics. Maybe it's not the best example because I got a whole grip, which is going to change the ergonomics a little bit. I like to put these on a lot of my larger Glocks. I just feel like it just helps me get a better grip on it, control it better. But yeah, so that's one issue I have. The main issues I have with Glock: trigger and ergonomics, questionable at best. Usable, yes. Serviceable, yes. Is this going to be the gun with no modifications out the box that you're going to shoot more accurately? No, it is definitely not. Without question, 99% of people are going to shoot a decent HK more accurately. And I honestly think people underestimate that because everyone's like, oh, just train more, just train more, just train more. You know, it's just a training issue. I'm a little bit tired of hearing it because the truth is I'm not a military soldier. I'm not military issued weaponry. I'm not out there training. I don't have the time, the energy, or the money to train that much. Let alone does the average American have the time, energy, or money to actually train that much. So I think for the average American, having a gun out the box that you're going to be able to shoot more accurately with less training is actually highly important, highly underrated, because you got to understand, I'm not talking about someone like you who's actually bothering to watch this video. Maybe you're actually training a lot, but the average American is not going to train that much. They don't have the time or the energy or the money. One or the other, a mix of them, all of them is something. They're just not going to actually train that much, or they just don't want to. They may own guns and they're afraid of their own guns. They're not going to just play with them like I'm just doing right now. This is a clear gun. I know what I keep loaded. I know what I don't keep loaded. That's why I'm kind of playing with this, because maybe someone's cringy about it, but get rid of that. So, yeah. I still didn't address the Glock 43X issue. So, those were obviously some of the issues. Ergonomics, trigger, questionable. This gun I'm going to shoot better. SIG 365, any variant. One of the things I love about the SIG 365 is the frame is swappable. They're customizable. You can make them as big, as small as you want on your own, and with aftermarket parts, or you can do it with factory parts. There's this one. There's a 365 fuse. There's different models you can get. So you can find something that works with you while you keep your slim profile, your size and weight down. I also got carbon fiber holsters here to keep size and weight down so they're easy to carry. Yeah, same thing with the HK. Obviously, size and weight down, easier to shoot. Why no 43X? Why no 48? I don't like the guns. They shoot terrible to me. Terrible. They feel like, to me, like those guns feel like if someone took this gun and shoved a 45 ACP round inside of it. That's how they feel to me. They hurt my hands to actually shoot. And I don't mind some recoil. I'm not a hater against recoil, you know. I have 10 mil Glock, you know. I have the compact 10 mil Glock, a Glock 29, a Glock 30, you know. There's an old 1911. I have 308 rifles. I have a whole collection of shotguns here. You know, there's a Beretta 13-1 Tactical. You know, I have a 10 mil rifle back there. I'm not so against recoil, but straight up, if a gun hurts too much to shoot, I'm just not going to want to shoot it. I'm being honest. If I had no other choice, if the Glock 43X or Glock 48 was the only gun I had available, would I take it? Oh yeah, I would carry it proudly, happily, show it off, talk about it. I would love that gun if it was all available. But if I have a choice between the SIG or especially the HKCC9, without question, I'm taking this gun. I do not like those guns. They literally hurt my hands to shoot. For those of you who don't know what a Glock 48 is, it's basically a 43X with a little bit longer slide, a little bit longer barrel, which for a lot of people might actually be the better carry gun if they're choosing between the Glock 43X and the Glock 48. Unless you're really keen on you need to shave down that extra size and weight in the barrel and slide, it might be a better gun between those two options, but that's for you to decide what makes more sense for you. I'm just telling you what makes sense for me. Those guns hurt my hand. They're harder to shoot accurately. I don't like recommending them to anyone at all. I don't own any. I can't show you any here. I've shot them both. I know people who own the 48. I know someone who owns a 43X. I have shot them both. This SIG 365X is smaller and lighter than the Glock 48. I'm going to go to the 48 because that's even the bigger one. And it still has less recoil and it has more capacity. This, if I was a New York compliant, would be 12 round flush fit. And then they got extensions now. I've seen the factory extensions go all the way up to 25 rounds. Granted, maybe I shouldn't draw on that point too much. Supposedly Glock is going to start offering higher capacity mags for those guns. As of now, they don't exist. Supposedly they will exist at some point. But still, this gun, smaller and lighter, has less recoil than the Glock 43X and the Glock 48. And it's not like, oh, it's just slightly more recoil. In my experience, it's like double the recoil. I can shoot this gun really comfortably. I do not mind that. I can shoot this gun one-handed really comfortably. The Glock 43X had so much recoil, if I didn't get a proper grip on it... Where's my camera? I'm here shooting it. I shoot it and it goes like that, right? I'm shooting it like that if I don't get a good grip on it. It's all over the place, and I'm going to limp wrist the hell out of it. This gun, I kid you not, I got this gun when I was terrible at shooting handguns. This was the second handgun I've ever got. I was terrible, had a horrible grip. I was limp wristing the 43X without a problem. This gun, I've never limp wristed with a terrible grip on the gun. So if you don't have a good grip on the gun, you don't have good fundamentals, in my personal experience, you're going to limp wrist a 43X. Which, to a lot of people, with all you super soldiers out there, with all your training, and say this is just not relevant to you, sure, fine. But for the average American, this is useful, important information. You don't want a gun, you're going to limp wrist, you jam, you're not properly trained to clear that jam quickly. And maybe even if you were properly trained to clear the jam quickly, maybe you don't have the time to do it when your life is on the line. That's it for today's video, because I know I'm about to start rambling too much. Is there anything else I want to cover? Like, I have my share of Glocks. Like, it's not like I have plenty of Glocks, as you've seen. Here's a Glock 19 Gen 2, actually. Like, I have plenty of Glocks. I just don't like them that much. I got a Beretta back there I really like. Don't really carry it because, mainly I don't carry Berettas because of the weight. But yeah, I'm fading away from Glocks, right? I have this Glock 19 here. This is actually loaded and set up. That's why it's in the holster. This is not loaded. This is not set up to go. So this is rendered safe. I know what's safe, what's not safe. I clearly still like Glocks in a sense. I have a bootleg Glock, Ruger RXM here loaded. I know, yeah, sure, it's questionable. Should you carry bootleg Glock? Do your own research. This has a lot of testing done on it, not by me. Plenty of videos out there you can see of people testing and being a really good gun. I carry this over the real Glocks Two reasons. One, that gun is discontinued, so I don't want to risk losing it when it's a discontinued gun. Two, the ergonomics, I don't want to mess with this too much. This is a loaded gun. The ergonomics on the Ruger, being so careful about this, RXM are just way better. Better grip angle, better slide serrations, better trigger from the factory. I did put a Glock Performance trigger in that gun. I do like how the Glock Performance trigger is. I do question, though, if it's more reliable than the factory trigger long term. But yeah, nice flare magwell. Let me put that away. I don't want to mess around too much with that. Me personally, though, I've been slowly transitioning to using HKs more and more. So I mess with SIG 365s for carry guns. I do not mess with really any other SIGs for a carry gun, even though I do have, what is this, the 229? No, that's no way, that's not a 229. 938, is it SIG? 938. Yeah, but I don't carry it, it's just look pretty. You know, I have another, so this is gonna take me a long time to clean up now. Another pretty Glock. Wow, I said Glock. Another pretty SIG. Just wanted to show off these guns. I probably, at some point, if there's something you want me to make a video on alone, let me know. I'll probably at some point, either way, make a video on every single gun, at least if I feel like it's worth at least making a short video on. Though I'm slowly fading away with Glocks. I'm starting to, the more Glocks I own, the more Glocks I use, the less I'm starting to like them. Eventually, I'm planning to swap both of these out instead of being potentially used or carried for HKs. Say what you want to say about that. That's what I'm planning to do. At some point, I'm planning to buy a new model HK VP9. Sure, I have this one. I love the finger grooves, but I don't want to carry a discontinued gun and risk losing it. So at some point, I plan to swap this out for one of the new model HK VP9s. And this one, I'm going to swap out for HK 45. It's just, to me, I probably will end it on this. It's not even just about the discontinued. That aside, there's something confidence inspiring to me about an HK. Like, it just feels more rugged, more well built, more heavy duty. It just feels good in the hands. Like, you hold one of these guns, you just feel like you're going to shoot it well, and it's going to work, and it's going to be reliable, it's going to be accurate. And this is the kind of gun, I mean, sure, you could say all day long your Glock has never jammed on you, and it's super reliable. This is the kind of gun that's not just going to break on you. That's any of the HKs. If you were to ever put the Glock, from everything I've seen, at its breaking point, wherever that may be, the HK would laugh off whatever the Glock's breaking point is. Say what you want to say, do your own research. I like these guns more. When I hold this in my hand, I feel way more confident that I'm going to be able to shoot it accurately. I'm going to be able to shoot it well, that it's going to work, that it's going to go off. It's not going to break. It's just something confidence inspiring. But yeah, I'm slowly fading out of Glocks. The more Glocks I got more in there, the less and less I like them. I do still like a good Glock. I'm not going to say I clearly own plenty of them, but I've also had issues with Glocks. I have lemon magazines with them. I have a video I'm going to either be putting out soon, either I already put out, or I'm going to be putting out soon, where the extractor just completely fails when I'm running, if you run the slide too slowly, and I show this with like practice rounds. I'm just starting to really not like Glocks that more, and I'm planning still keep my 365s, but as far as carry guns, I kind of, or something I have ready to grab, I kind of just want everything to be an HK. Maybe I'll still use the Ruger XM. I do like that gun, but at some point I want to fade out my Glocks. My favorite bag gun is the HK VP9 SK. I know these are discontinued, and I don't really like carrying discontinued guns, but if I needed something that I was just going to grab and draw and shoot quickly and accurately, there's just nothing for me competes with the HK VP9 SK. to me, it's just the perfect bag gun, the perfect size and weight for me to have in a bag. Grab it and draw it. And if I wanted to point shoot something, this one's a point shoot masterpiece. So like if you just needed something really quickly to grab and draw, it's just really just for me just connects. So I do keep this in this bag. Got one of these like quick pull bags. But I don't, honestly, if I'm being honest, I don't really carry this that much. To me, I have two major problems with these bags. One, depending on how the bag looks, pull tab sticking out, or you got the magnet, whatever, going across your chest, it kind of looks like you're carrying a gun. It really does. And so you kind of lose the element of surprise there. The other thing, if someone comes up to you and they're just pointing their gun at you and they're like, empty the bag, give me your wallet, give me your phone, give me your money, are you really gonna go pull out your grab bag and pull a gun out while someone's aiming a gun at you? You could potentially be in a situation where someone forces you to open the bag at gunpoint because they want just your money. They might not even know you have a gun in there. You just revealed your gun to them because you have no choice. Now they may take your gun from you. Because what are you really supposed to do? Unless you're about to get into a wrestling match over this guy, over these two guns that are currently in this scenario, you're going to have a lot of problems. So that's why I like hip carry or even appendix carry. Because if someone wants your wallet, wants your phone, you could give them your phone, you could give them your wallet, you could give them your keys, and they do not have to know you have a gun on you. They still do not have to need to know that information. You could give them a lot of stuff. You could take off your shoes and socks, still sitting there with your gun still hitting, and wait for the right moment to draw it and fire. Because you don't want to you don't want to start reaching for your gun in a situation where he has to drop on you and he's probably has a good shot of winning that gunfight, to be honest. So that's why I really like to avoid bags. I do still use a bag here. So I do have this bag that I use, that I keep a gun and spare magazines, for spare flashlights, whatever I need in here. If I need a pocket knife, whatever I want to keep in here. But for one thing, this is just a regular fanny pack. It does not scream in any way, I have a gun. I mean, sure, maybe the bulk might say something, but you could put a slimmer setup in there and it wouldn't scream so much as a gun as this thing does. But I really just carry this more as like a backup, more of a comfort thing. There's times I'll carry this, I'll still have a micro on my hip, but I'll carry this. So if I have the time to, I can access a larger firearm and spare magazines and still have it on me. But if I don't have the drop on someone, I'll do what I have to do to figure out a way to try to win that fight. If I have to, if he's like, he wants me to, if he wants the bag, I'll throw the bag. And the moment he looks away, I'll grab my gun and start shooting. If the situation makes sense. This is not legal advice. You need to do the best you can at the time with the information you have. But yeah, I just feel like these things, even if it doesn't slow you down and you draw because you have a specific carry bag, this one's obviously going to slow you down, but it doesn't look like you're carrying a gun and you could fit more stuff in it. I really like this bag because it has two separate pockets. So you can keep your gun in the back if you want to. You can keep your wallet and phone and keys in the front. You can take out your wallet without exposing your gun. And it doesn't look like you're carrying a gun. It's just a lot more comfortable for me. So, yeah, you have the situation where you look like you're carrying a gun. And it may be a problem for you to draw. I feel like if someone just runs up on you with a gun, you're not going to really draw out of this bag. But if you have a gun on your hip, I'll give him my phone, I'll give him my wallet, and I'll wait for the opportunity to draw if I can safely do so. I'm not going to just do it while he's pointing the gun at me. So I think I completely forgot to mention why I carry this is critical defense. See with that tip there. And critical duty. See with that red tip there. Hornady critical defense and Hornady critical duty. So obviously these are 9 mils. I'm not specifically recommending that you should be carrying a 9mm and that I always recommend carrying a 9mm. I do stand by, I don't recommend carrying the 380. I just don't want to put it to chance. I hear too many people who are like, oh, it's all about shot placement. Well, in a high stress situation, I'm not about to just become John Wick and make some perfect shots. On top of that, as I mentioned earlier in the video, there's documented cases of cops having trouble putting people down with full-size, full-length barrel, 45 ACP handguns with plus P ammo. You can look into it yourself. There's plenty of documented cases of cops having trouble putting people down with this round. Yeah, there's a conflict here, but this isn't even 45. This is 9mm. This is weaker. So the reason I mainly carry 9mm is I just need to keep my size and weight down. I just can only carry so much size and weight. Maybe that's a personal issue. Maybe a lot of people feel that way. You do what you want with that information. I do not go down to 380 because you lose too much power. So if you look at the actual test results, the ballistic gel results, those human fake torsos with real organs, how they react and respond to it. The difference in power between a 9mm and a 45 ACP is not as much as you would think it is. Yes, a 45 ACP, within its range, it's going to do more damage than a 9mm. And I do say within its range because this bullet is going to have more range and more accuracy, though chances are you're never going to take a shot where that actually matters in terms of a handgun. You're only going to shoot so far for a handgun. But a 9mm will hit 100 yards really effectively. 45 ACP at 100 yards could have a good amount of loss of speed and a good amount of bullet drop. So do keep that in mind. So the thing is, with 9mm, it's moving so much faster than a standard 45 ACP that it makes up for the power difference. That's how an AR-15 works. If you look at AR-15 bullets, they're actually small and light bullets that are completely dependent on speed, and the speed of them will make them more effective than a 9mm, which actually has a fatter and heavier bullet. And by bullet, I'm referring to the actual top part here, the part that actually comes out of the barrel. So, yeah, 9mm versus 45 ACP, not a drastic power difference. I stick with 9mm to keep my size and weight down. 45 is still obviously more powerful. I'm not saying it's not. 40 cal as well. 357 SIG. Whatever you want to say. 357 Magnum, 44 Magnum. They're all obviously more powerful, more effective rounds than 9mm. Though 9mm loaded right is going to definitely get the job done. Not in one bullet. Don't be afraid to do a mag dump if you need to. If that is what you need to do, this is not legal advice. It's for educational purposes only. If you have no choice but to mag dump someone because you need to protect yourself and they will harm you, if you do not, don't be afraid to do a mag dump. So, back on the 380, the difference between 9mm and 380 is larger than the difference between 9mm and 45 ACP. I know when you look at the bullet sizes, it does not make sense. 45 ACP bullet is drastically larger than a 9mm bullet. But because of the speed difference in a 9mm, it does make up for power. Now, when you take a 380 versus a 9mm, you have a relatively similar sized bullet, but the casing, the cartridge, this area where all the power is behind the bullet is smaller. So you're taking a similar bullet, but putting less power behind it. And you can look up the information yourself. This isn't information I'm just making up. The tests are out there. If you actually compared the ballistic gel test or the human torso, the dummies that are made with fake organ tests, 9mm clearly is more powerful than 380. While 45 ACP is more powerful than 9mm, it's not that clear and noticeable of a difference. So yeah, I stick with 9mm for the most part to keep my size and weight down. I do not recommend 380, especially when you take into consideration that a lot of the 380 guns people are actually carrying have really short barrels. I think like the Bodyguard is like a 2.75 barrel. Don't quote me on that. Please look up anything you want for yourself. But you're taking a smaller bullet. I don't even have any 380 to show you. You're taking a smaller bullet with less power. You put it in a shorter barrel. You're just not going to be that effective. There's so many questionability about 380. A lot of people say they only carry full metal jackets because if you have a hollow point in a 380, you won't even have enough penetration power to properly kill someone if you needed to. This is not legal advice. I'm saying within all the guidelines of the law, you don't even have the penetration power that you need if you use the proper hollow point. So, yeah, that's my spiel. I will probably make a separate video going more into depth about ammo choices between 380, 45 ACP, 40 cal, 9mm. I mainly carry 9mm. If I had a choice to shoot someone with a 9mm 45, obviously 45 does more power, but it's just easier to carry 9mm. I don't mess around with 380 because I just believe it's way too much of a loss of power. I don't mind 40 cal. The problem with me and 40 cal, I mean, obviously, yes, 9mm, smaller, lighter, but it's not just the bullet, it's the gun. You have these too many double stack 9mm handguns, or stack and a half as they call it, that are so small and so light and still very capable, shoot very well. There's not a lot of competition in 40 cal guns. That is really one of my main gripes with 40 cal. It's not the availability of ammo. It's not the price of the ammo, the recoil control. It's none of that stuff. Whether it's more powerful or not, it's the options in firearms. There are so many more firearm choices that you have in 9mm versus 40 cal. It's hard to compete. I'm not an expert. This is a 365X macro magazine. I'm no expert, but this is a New York compliant version. You see the buffer there, but this is supposed to be a 17 round stack and a half magazine. As far as I can understand how physics works, I don't think you can make a stack and a half this thin of 40 cal. It would have to be a single stack. You're not going to get so in a slimline gun, you're losing a lot of capacity. In a more of a full-size traditional fatter gun, you're not getting that much of a capacity difference. So there's that. You're not necessarily going to have a slimline gun as capable as a 365, HKC C9, whatever your preference is, Glock 43X, Smith & Wesson, Springfield. There's so many other options, Canix, whatever your preference is, you're gonna lose a lot of capacity if the gun's too slim. So you're gonna need a bigger gun to carry so that you can still keep your capacity. But then again, you still run into the problem that there's just not a lot of options out there. A lot of companies are either discontinuing 40 Smith & Wesson guns. There's just none that I really find that interesting. I mean, sure, there's HKs and 40 cal that I see. From what I've seen, I would like some of the capacity issues fixed, because in their VP9, or is it called VP40, 40 cal, the flush fit magazines are only 13 rounds in a gun that looks like it should be at minimum 14, maybe 15 rounds, because the 9mm version is 17 rounds. I am not going to pick, what was that number? 13 rounds of 40 cal and an HK over 17 rounds of 9mm that you get in the same space. To me, the math just does not math. It doesn't quite make sense. And I know there's Glock fanboys out there who say, oh, well, just get a Glock. I do have a Glock 27 Gen 3. Do actually have one. 40 cal. Something that you can actually carry. This is arguably one of the best 40 cal carry guns, but it's still a rather thick and heavy gun. Like, if you compare this to a 365 size gun. I'll say that because you can pick whichever gun you want to carry at the end of the day. This is a good amount of extra size and weight that you're carrying. So you're not really, as far as I see in the market, going to be able to get a gun as slim and as easy to carry in 40 cal. At least not that one that still keeps your capacity without it being a single stacked gun. So you have that. And then of the larger guns that could carry 40 cal, there's just not a lot of options that I see that I actually like. There's a few HKs out there, a few Glocks out there I wouldn't mind carrying in 40 cal, but that's really kind of it for the guns that I just at least like. I know there's other competitions out there, there's other companies that make guns, but even still, if you just look at the market right now, the market is producing like practically 100 new 9mm for every, it seems like every one new 40 cal. Now, like, that's not an exact number, but you kind of get the idea that one of my main gripes with 40 cal is there's just not a lot of options in which gun you're going to actually carry. And this isn't a gun I actually carry. Most of the guns I carry are slimmer and lighter. Not that this would be a bad gun, but I just cannot carry that much size and weight. I have knee problems, I have back problems, and even carrying this gun fully loaded with, can't remember if that was supposed to be a 9-round or 10-round magazine. Just trying to see for the video's sake. Magazine here with the thumb piece. There's a 9-round magazine, just so accuracy. I like the gun. I actually like finger grooves. I like the way this feels. I like the way this fits in my hand. It'd probably be a really comfortable gun to carry. I do generally like this gun, but I just do not carry anything with this much size and weight. So, yeah, leave that alone. Don't really mess with 40 cal just because it's not so much that I have a problem with the bullet. There's just a limited amount of options of which gun are you going to pick. There's so many options in 9mm. There's even so many more options in 45 ACP, and I'm planning to get a 45 ACP HK really soon. I just don't have it yet. So that aside, the other thing I wanted to talk about before I end this is why do I carry the Hornadies? Because I know that's actually why I started this little monologue here. Why do I carry the Hornadies? Critical defense, critical duty. As stated earlier, critical defense, according to the factory, it's rated for shorter barrels. Critical duty, the plus P, is rated for the longer barrels. It's said by the factory that if you run the critical duty plus Ps in the shorter barrels, you're not going to get the proper expansion that you would want to get out of a modern day hollow point. So the reason I carry these tips, and I don't know how to say this in a way that doesn't sound like I'm just really biased, but I honestly do believe in the technology. I've seen videos tested it. I don't live in Florida or somewhere warm. I live in New York. People in the wintertime will wear thick jackets, and if you shoot a hollow point into a layer of cloth clothing, something that's just too thick, perhaps too soft, it can clog the hollow point, and it could keep the hollow point from opening. So you're basically just shooting full metal jackets, and maybe, I don't even know, straight up a full metal jacket, like an oddly shaped full metal jacket is what you're basically shooting. So if you don't believe that that's true, do your own research. Grand Thumb, thank God I remember his name for this video. Grand Thumb does do a great video on testing different hollow points where he shoots a thick jacket, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe 100% of the hollow points he tested in his video failed that test. And I'm not talking about Hornady failed the test. Every other one he tested actually failed. You could do your own research. You could do your own testing. If the cloth is thick enough, a standard hollow point will clog. So I use these because, at least as far as I can see from the environment that I'm in, this is going to give me more reliable expansion. So I do not want to end up just shooting oddly shaped full metal jackets at people. So that is why I really only carry this stuff for the most part, because at least most of the time this is what the situation would call for. Not to say I would never consider carrying any other round, but for where I live and the environment I'm currently in, this is the most practical round. And even if I went to Florida, I'd probably still carry this round or someplace warm, just because I want that ability for the hollow point to not clog and for it to open up when it's supposed to, and to not have a situation where it doesn't open up when it's supposed to, or a situation where it opened up sooner than it's supposed to, losing your bullet's effectiveness. And yeah, can't think of anything else to add at the moment, so I will be leaving this at that for now, and I may add more to this later if something seems relevant. I know this video has been getting a lot longer than I planned on it. I'm probably going to break it up at some point, and certain of these subjects I probably will make their own video about, just so I could explain things in more detail and explain things better. But this video, it's really long-winded, but I just really wanted to put all the best and most useful information I have out there for what I actually really use in real world scenarios, why I actually really use this stuff, what makes this stuff work for me, and why that might actually work for you. And I'm generally speaking referencing an average civilian within the United States of America, though it does not mean this knowledge would be useless to people elsewhere. But I'm just speaking from where I am, from my experiences, from my perspective, what just I found from honestly spending probably way too much time online doing my own research, what just makes the most sense for me currently right now. I'm sure at some point I'm going to make a completely different video with perhaps updated opinions and facts. But for me, this is what works right now the best. And I honestly believe the reason I'm making this video is that I think this information will actually not just work really well for me, will work really well for most average civilians. I just personally, one of the main reasons I started this channel is I've just seen too many videos online of YouTubers just talking about guns, perhaps ammunition, that just I do not believe is actually relative to a normal, average, everyday civilian. Maybe it makes sense for them, but I don't think it makes sense for everyone else. For example, I don't like it when YouTubers are talking about guns that aren't really that well tested or that well proven. If they're just talking about the gun just for the sake of talking about the gun, that's one thing. But when they're recommending guns that just do not have a track record of tested and proven reliability, I guess like a Glock, I don't like recommending it for people to actually use as their carry gun. Like, sure, you buy one, you put 1,000 rounds through it, it might be perfectly fine. Someone else might buy one and in 500 rounds have a catastrophic malfunction or just get unexpected jams at a time they may need to depend on that gun to defend themselves and those around them. So that's why I only like to recommend things that have that track record of proven long-term reliability. And durability is another one. So obviously you want a gun that doesn't just jam on you randomly, is reliable, and you also don't want a gun that may just suddenly break on you, like some of these really cheap guns that I see too many people talking about online. And I'm sorry to say it, I don't think, relatively speaking, a Glock is that expensive. I don't think it's necessarily the cheapest gun, but if you're going to defend yourself and those around you with a gun, by today's standards, I say at least spend $400. At least get a Ruger RXM. I see a lot of the CZs, the cheaper CZs are supposed to be really good guns. I'm just going off of what I've seen myself and what people have tested and done online. I don't currently have a CZ to test, unfortunately. I've heard a lot of good things about it, but that's about as cheap as I would go. I would not recommend you buy a handgun that's brand new, $200. How long is that really going to be reliable for? So that's one gripe I have. The other gripe I have is guns that are too expensive. Like, I would love to have them on the channel. I would love to own them. I would love to talk about them. But there is a reality that most people are never going to buy these guns. And then on top of that, most people who buy these guns may never actually carry them. So while, I want to have fun with the channel and talk about just whatever I feel like talking about, I do want to keep a focus on talking about what is actually relevant for the average civilian, I'll say. Because, I am American, so I do have a bias that I'm looking at it from an American's perspective. But generally, I want to talk about what's actually good for an average civilian. So, thank you very much. That is my video for today. I don't know if I will end up adding another clip into this. I was considering talking about the HK45 and why I like that over any other 45. Though basically I did just want to add in why I like that one over USP, because I know people love that gun, or a Glock 21 and 45 ACP. Is to me, the ergonomics are just so much better on the gun. It's going to be easier for the average person to hold it and to shoot it accurately, easily. So, yeah, I just wanted to add that little snippet. I will be leaving it at now, unless I suppose something else comes up that just seems practical to add into the video. Thank you for watching. Feel free to leave any questions or comments below. I will do my best to answer the questions to the best of my ability. And yeah, that's a wrap before I just start rambling nonsense here. Peace.